Welcome to another Think With Me Thursday. I'm Justin with Effective. Today we've got some fun stuff sorted out. If you can see, the stream looks a little different. I mean, at least the overlays and all that fun stuff anyway. It's been the last couple hours have been kind of interesting. I've completely redone my entire streaming setup, largely because Restream has been having some problems for me. So I've had this idea about trying to use my Windows PC as a streaming rig, but then still accessing my Mac. And I've got it all sorted out right now, which is actually quite amazing that it's working, I think. So you'll see the results of that in today's stream. One of the downsides of this, though, is that we're no longer rebroadcasting to LinkedIn and Twitter. So if you want to join in on the fun, it's solely here on YouTube. But let me know where you're coming in from in the chats. Would love to hear from you. Also, if you want to support what we're doing here on the channel at Effective, all the productivity videos, the shorts, these live streams, click the join button down below and become a channel member. Or if you're on mobile and you don't have the join button yet, go into the description. There's a link to join the channel there. Your membership would be greatly appreciated. Help support everything that we're doing, what I'm doing here at Effective. On today's stream, two big things that we're covering today. One, I want to do a bit of an update on my productivity system. The last 3 live streams, the last 3 weeks, we're really focused in on honing in my productivity system, what I'm landing on, what I'm doing. I've been doing some building out in that, so I want to dig into that a little bit with you today. And then I finished reading a book called At Your Best by Carey Nieuwhof. It's an excellent look into some mindsets and strategies on how to stay productive but still avoid burnout. Because to me, there's a lot of advice out there that doesn't line up. Where if you just do these things, you'll be hyper productive. But if you do those things, you'll also end yourself up in burnout. So it's a little interesting. So anyway, we'll take a look at that today and see how things are going. But first, let's dive into this productivity system update. This is where things get a little fancy on the stream, by the way. I actually have the stream going out from my Windows computer, and then I have it syncing over the network, the display from my Mac, so we can still see it. There may be a little bit of a delay, a little bit of a lag in some of what I'm doing on the screen here. But yeah, this is Obsidian. This is the thing that I have decided to be the center of my productivity system. This is where I'm handling all the high level details. This is where I'm handling the prioritization of big picture items, both objectives, OKRs, and projects that I'm working on. I have this lightly built out, and so let's dig into what I am doing currently. You can see at the bottom here, this is my home note that I have. This is where I can easily jump into just about everything inside of my Obsidian vaults. Interesting notes, things that I'm working on, note launch pads, which just gets me into different sections of where I think and take notes, jot things down, and then productivity launch pads. This is where I am digging into the productivity system that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. The vision board is where everything starts. So this is a Kanban board using the Kanban plugin. And I have the high level areas of life listed out here. So I've got my theme for this year, which we've talked about before, is the year of rebuilding. My wheel of life, I literally just note down the numbers for my wheel of life review that I've done. And that's what I base this off of. Just gives me a high level overview of like, oh yeah, a reminder, if this is where things are, this is where things have been. And then I link to my most recent review here. So if I want to get into the details of that further, I can. I have links to my OKRs here, my objectives and key results that I'm working on. You can see financial stability, build community, and systemize activities. And then I have other launch pads here, which get me a little bit deeper into the system. See, the idea that I've had with building a productivity dashboard, so to say, inside of Obsidian has been, I want to be able to zoom in and out. So I want to get out to the broad level. This is the broad level vision dashboard. I want to see the big picture. Where am I at? What's the trajectory that I'm on? What's mattering to me right now? And then I want to be able to click in further. So then from here, I can go into my OKR dashboard, which is just a simple data view where I can see my active and previous OKRs. Or I can jump up into my project dashboard. This is something I'm still fleshing out the work on a little bit. I have it mostly done on my Windows computer, but I hadn't set up plugin sync correctly, and so it wasn't working. And so I have to set it up here on my Mac just to get it working a little bit better. But basically, I have this set up into 5 different columns. Each one of these will have metadata on them that shows what area they pertain to, such as work, or personal, or effective, things of that sort. It'll also show a link to a project in things. And I will just show you what this looks like. Again, like I mentioned, I haven't really dove into this yet as far as the automated setup of it, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create some YAML front matter on this one. I'm just going to make this simple, and we'll come back to it. Let's see. Priority is now. Area is effective. And things, we'll put in a markdown link. So this will show up too, but I've got to complete the link here real quick. So I'm going to jump into things. I have a project created for this. Set up effective OS. Then I'm going to copy the link, pop it into here. There, now this note shows, as you can see on the Kanban card over here, it shows the area and then a link to the tasks. I'm not tracking tasks inside of Obsidian at this point in time. Hey, Aaron, no worries about being late. I was getting started a little bit late myself, too. I was dealing with some stream gremlins, let's put it that way. But yeah, it's I've got this link to the tasks here, which is really nice because then I can, the other thing I can do, too, is if I wanted to just do an emoji instead, I can do that. And so it'll just be a little icon that I can click. I might implement some CSS to try to hide that on the Kanban boards, just because it's unsightly. It doesn't work very well when you show links in this metadata. But it shows me what area it pertains to, and now I have a link that literally opens straight up into the project and things. So that way I can be working on this, typing out ideas, linking ideas together, pulling other thoughts in, having all this stuff come together with it inside of Obsidian, and then link out to the place where the actions are stored. Because I just find things to be a much better setup for that. So this is how this looks. And then I also have, let me make sure that it's configured in here. I have a couple plugins that just make life a little bit easier. Yeah, it's not configured at this moment in time, but I'm going to do this real quick. So we're going to do project dashboard. This plugin is called Meta Edit, and it allows you to edit metadata inside of notes, the data inside of your YAML front matter, pretty easily and automatically. So the property here is priority. So what this does is for notes that are linked to cards on the project dashboard, it's going to look for a YAML front matter property called priority. And then it's going to change that to one of these possible values, which you notice in the background here are the names of the columns. I'm going to add this, or I've already added it actually. And so now, if I move this card to a different status, say I want to just be aware of this one, if I open the note back up, in a moment, it's going to change this priority field to aware. As you saw, it changed automatically there. This is really handy for one particular case in my mind. It's handy because if I want to run a data view query to show all of my now projects, I don't have to dive into this note or into the project dashboard to see those. I can look at a data view query and I can say, query all notes that are tagged project, because that's what I'll do. And then that also have the priority status of now or aware, and then it'll pull a table view list in to a note. So where this is handy is looking into a couple of different places inside of the vault that I have set up. We'll pop back to the vision board here, and we'll get into the daily document. The daily document is an idea that I grabbed from a guy on LinkedIn, and I just thought that it was a great use of being able to like review things on a daily basis, keep yourself on track and on trajectory. And so this is a great way to be able to just do a one-pager review on something and keep yourself refreshed on where you are and where you want to go. And so I'll just run through this here a little bit. I've got weekly objectives, which I have 3, one for work, one for effective, and one for my personal life. So I've got an interview that I'm planning out. I am wrapping up this productivity iteration and building it out this week. And then I want to get out biking at least 2 times this week. And so I have a benchmark that I can look at the end of the week. Did I accomplish this? And if not, what do I need to do differently next time so that I can? Then I have a couple of different sections down here that keep me focused. I've got a little bit of work to do filling some of these out, but I've got this feeling off section. Everybody wakes up feeling off sometimes, or we're just not quite on it. And so these are just some prompts that I can say, have I spent some time spiritually lately? Am I sleeping enough? Am I drinking enough water? Have I had enough space in my week? Have I gotten exercise? And then just a reminder to process through any negative emotions that I'm feeling, because sometimes those weigh me down as well. Digging into personal values, this is something I need to fill out a little bit more, but it'll be a document just listing out like top 10, what keeps me going and where do I need to stay on track? What is most important to me? Trajectory shows my theme for the year, just a reminder of it there. Again, this is a representation of what's already on the vision dashboard, but it's just in one easy place where I can look at it every single day. Priority projects, this is a filter that I need to change here. Well, actually, I don't have any that are priority now. So this is what will show up. And this is where that having the meta edit automatically change priorities. A priority, what's the word? The YAML front matter property. There we go. That's where that's handy because that can allow me to pull that dynamically into a note like this. Personal development, are there specific areas that I want to develop in the next 6 to 12 months in myself, skill-wise? And then the do list and don't do list. These are just lists of things that I want to make sure that I'm intentioning myself to do or to stay away from. So things like being outside, working in my garden, working on the house, creating, reading books, going through my read list, not using tech beyond my need, don't just sit in the office, don't try to find life in a virtual world. That's something that I've actually struggled with. And then to limit social media and email to blocks in the day. Dr. Brad, you might have gone over this already, but is that a plugin that allows the callouts to have color? It used to be. It used to be the admonition plugin, but now these callouts are built right into Obsidian, which I think is super, super handy. There's just and it's fun. You can actually collapse them or not, and open them up here if you want to hide some information. I'll show you what this looks like. It's literally just a quote. Let's zoom in here so it's a little easier to see. Literally just a quote block. And then you have your square brackets with an exclamation pointer after. And then this word determines what color and what kind of call out it is. Let me look at Obsidian callouts. So we can just take a look at this together. It's in the Obsidian documents, but there's a number of different types that you can use, and it will show up in different ways. So you can see this one is an error. This is the title that I've set dynamically here. And then on the second line, you can put any explanation that you want for it or the actual information. So that's really handy. You can also change the call out here by using a minus or a plus right on the backside. If you do a minus, it will default to collapsed. It will, and if you do a plus, it will default to expanded but allow you to collapse it. Yeah, no problem, Dr. Brad. Happy to spend some time explaining it and showing it. There's so many deep features inside of Obsidian. I'll pop this link in the chat. I'll have to do it. That's the one downside of doing things this way. I've got to switch computers now. But I will pop the link to this in the chat if you want to learn a little bit more about it. There's lots of fun options that you can do there. No, it's not a hex code, unfortunately. It is predefined, but you can customize them using CSS if you would like. So it's a little funky to have to do it that way, but yeah, that's the unfortunate bit. Yeah, you're welcome. So this is the daily document. And then the other aspect of this that I want to show as well is the daily note. Oh, I don't have, let's see, I actually put it in my templates folder. Daily note template. This is a work in progress yet. I've got to do some more experimentation with it, but this is where I'm planning to do some of my planning, or at least giving myself the flexibility if I want to do it on paper, or if I want to do it in Obsidian. So you can see that I have the daily document viewed here. I'll probably also add a review vision board. Just to keep myself on there, and then review the project dashboard. So that way, well, actually the daily document handles that, so not a concern there. So what will happen in this context is I'll go through these initial habits. I'll review the daily document. I'll review my vision board. That'll give me a view of where I'm at. What's priority for today for projects. Oh, and then I also need to review things. So this will give me a good look at all the different aspects, top to bottom, of what's priority for me right now. Then I automatically have, from the daily document, I have the embedded section here, the weekly objectives. So this, every time I update this, it will change, which I think would be just fine. The downside is that I don't get a history of those objectives over time, so that's a problem I might need to work out. And then I'm implementing the 3-3-3 approach to planning from Oliver Burkeman. He's the guy who wrote 4,000 Weeks. So 3 hours of deep focus, 3 tasks, and then 3 maintenance items. 3 tasks can be something simple, something easy, or something that's not super deeply. It's more your shallow work, I guess, let's put it that way. And then maintenance can be something that you want to do every single day, or on a regular basis. So like yesterday, this was updating my personal and business budgets. It can also be making sure that you're building a writing habit, just sitting down and writing, doing something, creating. It's things that you need to prioritize to maintain over the long term. It can be going for a walk or going for a bike ride, maintaining your health. So that's something to keep in mind there. And then at the bottom, I have a log section, which just allows me to record things that I'm working on or thinking about. Aaron's saying, I guess for paper version of this, just write down your daily note on the front page of the book and refer back to it each day. Yeah, you could totally do that. The other thing that I do in paper is I use the bullet journal method. I'll just create a new note. I'll type it out here for you. But I literally just write down the date. And then I'll do this. I'll do deep work, and then I'll do tasks, then I'll do 1, 2, 3, and then I'll do maintenance, and then I'll just check those off. And so this is just a list of the projects that I want to work on in the deep work session. This is the 3 tasks, and then this will be the 3 maintenance items. And then I'll draw a little squiggly line underneath of that to signify that that's the end of my plan for the day. And then everything below that is just capture. Allows me a little bit of flexibility and also to stay in the flow of the page on the bullet journal itself. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. And I guess I'll pop over to things really quick and just show you. It's a really, really simple setup. Awesome. I'm glad you like it, Aaron. I'm actually really excited because I feel like I have some cohesion finally in a productivity system. So that's really good. So over in things, you can see on the screen, it's a pretty simple thing setup. I have 4 different areas here. I have effective, personal, family, and home. Once I get a full-time job again, that will be another area as well, or that might be broken out into multiple areas depending on the depth of those. But then underneath, I'm only really breaking out into projects if I have a project that's been created inside of Obsidian. Now, some of these are migrated over, and again, I got to get them all synced up. But this is the only thing I'm using this for is to store tasks, next actions for projects that I'm working on. You can see here that I've got a few things that I've got to deal with. I love things because it segments things for you automatically. You can click on an area and get a high level overview of what's going on there. Both projects, anytime tasks, tasks that are upcoming, and then tasks that are in your someday bucket. And then I also like how just easy it is to schedule stuff for today and work off that list if I decide to do that. I love this setup so far. And again, I'm still really learning it. I'm still really diving into it. But the thing is, I am trying to get I really feel like it's been a positive thing. One of the things that I have realized in this process too, and I've talked about this some previously on the podcast long time ago now, but it's this idea of structured and unstructured workspaces, or the way that I am terming it now is the database and the workspace. The database is the place that you capture things for long term. You think of it as your long-term memory. So things, I mean, that's my long-term database for tasks. Obsidian, long-term database, place to store what's important to me, what I'm thinking about, what I'm working on. But then the workspace is the stuff that I'm actively engaging with and doing work in or thinking through things on. This is the short-term memory. So to me, this is something like paper, where I'm writing things down, or maybe it's Miro or a whiteboard where I'm ideating on something. It could be a daily note where I'm just journaling and fleshing out ideas, or maybe it's a capture tool like Drafts on my phone to be able to just, I've got an idea here right now, but I'm not fully engaged with it to really deal with it. But then it needs to go somewhere so that I can deal with it at some place in the future. So that's really a lot of it. The way that I see it is that things in Obsidian are really my database, the place where I can go back and store things. But then paper and other tools that I actively work with throughout the day, those are the workspaces where I'm actually doing the work, getting things done. And I think that's a distinction that not a lot of us necessarily make, because we often put this, I'm working in Obsidian, I'm working in things. We put this onus on those tools to be the place where work happens. But in reality, the work's happening in here, and I'm just creating an extension of my I'm creating an extension of my brain. This is actually something psychologically that does happen too, if you're not aware of it. I have to pull some studies up on it, but basically, when you're working on an external canvas, can be a whiteboard, a piece of paper, your brain, in a sense, treats it as an extension of itself. And that's what's really interesting. And I think if we can leverage using external workspaces for ourselves, but then also leverage a database for being able to come back to things at some point in the future, I think that's really helpful. Yeah, Aaron's calling out, right, like David Allen says, the brain is for having ideas, not storing them. Exactly. That's kind of the idea behind it. Though it is true that the brain does have amazing long-term memory capabilities, and so I don't fully, I'm not fully on board with the train of like, yeah, you have to offload everything, but I am conscious of the fact that being able to store things externally is a positive thing, especially in today's culture where we have so many external things. Wanted to follow up on one more item from last week too. I did mention potentially, even though I've landed on things as a task manager, that if I need to use a Windows machine for work in the future, that I'll probably have to switch back to using Todoist or something of that sort. I've made the decision that I'm actually just going to do everything I can to make things work if I end up needing to work on a Windows machine in the future as my primary driver. Reason being is that it just integrates so well, and as I showed you previously, that sectioning of stuff just makes it so much simpler for my brain to engage with it. And so if I can keep that going, I think that's a net positive for me in the long run, even though there might be some friction with that overall. But that's that. So that's been the journey so far on the productivity system. The next thing I want to get into, and two, feel free to add any questions that you have in the chat about any of this. Happy to review this right now, anytime during the stream. But I want to get into doing some think with me. We haven't done that for a while, but go through some notes. Yeah, Alex, I bet you could pull off continuing to use things by keeping iPhone or iPad during the day. Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. Honestly, that's probably the best thing that I could do is do that. So hold on a second. I'm just rearranging some windows over here. Thank you so much to Windows for being able to rearrange windows. Windows 11, if you haven't used it, is actually really good. I've been really impressed with it. Obviously, you've got to still stay in the Windows mindset for it. It's a little different than Mac, but being able to use Windows, the window management that's built in is so much nicer than that in Mac OS. And I'm not, okay, getting a little commentary. I'm not 100% confident that the whole stage manager thing that they're introducing in Mac OS is a great choice. I guess maybe I'm old school. I don't know. It looks like it's a great feature to have on iPad OS, but I'm not 100% convinced that this is a good idea for Mac. I just don't like the big floating windows thing. I like to have my windows structured and organized, especially when I'm doing things like streaming. I need to be able to see my notes. I want to be able to see chat. OBS needs to be visible, to be able to see the YouTube dashboard so I can see, if anybody's given a super chat or become a member during a stream. That's all really important to me. And to do that on Mac, you have to use a third-party app like Moom or something of that sort to make that happen. And so it's just kind of annoying. Anyway, I'm going to pop back over to the Mac. Over our Think With Me note for today. This book is titled At Your Best. It's by Carey Nieuwhof. He's got a podcast and a YouTube channel. If you go into the description on the video, you'll see an at link to his channel where you can get all the video podcasts for this. I just think there's a really helpful resource. I know he does have more of a faith-based bent on some things, but the book is not written that way. But what I was drawn to about this book is that he was dealing with burnout in about 2006, hit it really hard, and then spent the last 15, 16 years focusing on being able to conduct his life in a way that avoids burnout. And so that's what really drew me to this, because as if you've hung around the channel at all for a while, you've known that I've gone through my own bouts with burnout. And I think being able to have an effective strategy where you can stay productive, but also avoid burnout in the process is extremely important. Extremely. And so he gets into the concepts here. We've talked about them over the last couple streams a little bit because they've been top of mind for me. And basically the core of it is this idea called the Thrive calendar, where instead of responding to things, you schedule your day around and structure your day around your energy levels, which I think makes a lot of sense. Having been in the productivity space, there's been a lot of talk about this for quite a while. And so being able to structure your day around energy levels is really interesting to do. So the way I've mapped mine out is like I have he splits them into 3 zones: your green zone, yellow zone, and your red zone. Green zone is when you're at your best, you're at your peak performance, you're fully engaged and aware, or you're able to be. Red is when you're completely tapped out, but you still need to maybe get a few things done. And then yellow is somewhere in between. And then you structure your day based upon when your energy levels are at. So my green zones are basically from 9 to noon, and then again at 1 or so, and then red zones starting about 4 or 4:30, somewhere around there. And then I can structure my day around that. Before we dig too much deeper in here, though, Alex says, cool to see so much progress with integrating your system since last week. And Slow Speed Chase 13 says, glad to see you also playing, debating the productivity system, struggling to pick which tools to use and invest in. Yeah, Slow Speed Chase, I definitely recommend checking out last week's live stream. Actually, the last couple of them, if you can. I have a few that I need to go back and unlist. I'm going to just unlist them all because I've been experimenting. Does that make sense? Does it not? But definitely go back and check out those live streams, because I've been wrestling in public with a lot of that if you haven't already. But definitely, I recommend starting from, like, what's the problem that you're trying to solve? And then from there, it's a problem you're trying to solve. Then from there, try to define tools that will help you solve that problem for you. If you can do that, then I think you're set up really well to build a productivity system. If you start from the tools and then try to figure out a system from there, it can get really muddy really fast. But if you can define your top 1 to 3 problems that you have at this moment in time with getting work done, try to devise a system and figure out tools that will help you, and strategies too, but tools and strategies that will help you solve those problems, then it'll be a lot easier to pick which tools that you want to use and invest in. Clement, welcome back to the stream today. I'm doing well. I hope you are. We've been having some fun here, and we're just getting into the book for this week, At Your Best. So feel free to post any comments in the chat. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to start taking some notes. So this is he's basically saying that here that we get the life that we construct. And that's true. This is reminding me of a highlight that I have in the book. Stream. Let me look at this real quick because I want to. Here we go. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind when we build these type of systems. If we're building systems to help encourage us to be hyper productive, then we're going to get a life. Oh, you know what? It's music. Let me turn it up a little bit. Let me know if it's too quiet or too loud. I'm trying a new audio setup today. Actually, just an entirely new streaming setup today. But yeah, so it's probably just a little low. I've got a mixer board over here on the side down below. So if you guys if I need to make any adjustments, do let me know if it's distracting to have it or if it's too loud, too soft. Happy to make some adjustments. But anyway, every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. If we build oh, really interesting. It's still only when I talk. That's odd. I'm just going to turn it off then. That is really weird. Maybe, oh, you know what it is? I've got some weird mixer stuff holding on here. Okay, hold on. Maybe that's it. No. Oh, you know what it is? Silly me. I've got to. Can you hear the music now? It's interesting because all right, cool. Got some more bugs to sort out with this. One of the biggest challenges with streaming in my mind is being able to play audio effectively. I know like they use the Go XLR. Let me know. I'm gonna. Yeah, it's too loud. All right. Sorry about that. That was a little goofy. But one of the biggest challenges with audio, I think, with streaming is the ability to source audio correctly, be able to play music or to play sound, because you have to use all these weird sound devices and stuff like that, and then also you have to take into consideration being able to play the sound. So I have some speakers set up with my like Rodecaster over here, and it's really goofy apparently. So I've got to do some configuration on all of that to figure out how to best get that set up. Iterate, right? Iteration. Anyway, back to this. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. If we build a productivity system for maximum efficiency, then we're going to get maximum efficiency, but we're going to also get all the downsides with that too. That's why I've been a big proponent of building a top-down system like I have, because it allows you to be able to see what's most important to you in all aspects and areas of your life, and you can build a system around that, the whole encompassing picture, versus just the couple of hyperactive productivity things that you want to get done, or maybe it's just around your work. And so I think this is a core concept of the book that that's important to pull out of it. Another key point here: if you don't declare a finish line to your work, your body will. I think this is an interesting point that Nieuwhof makes as well. How did the most prosperous people who ever lived, which is everyone in the developed world in the 21st century, make their lives about survival? He makes this case when looking at some of these highlights above here about stress. With our stress levels that we often have, we live at a level of, oh my gosh, I need to survive. Oh my gosh, I need to survive. That's the kind of stress that we run into. And some of it has to do with our use of technology as well. But when we live in abundance and prosperity, the way that we've structured our lives, the systems that we've built culturally, societally, around work, around life, around technology, we've built it, it's caused us to feel like we have to keep surviving. So in a lot of ways, as I note here, we've turned prosperity into scarcity and survival. I've been guilty of this here. Maybe you tell yourself that the stress you're feeling and the crazy busy life you're living is fine because it's just the season. But then it never actually diminishes. As he says here, seasons have beginnings and endings, but your busy season has no ending. It's not a season, it's your life. It's really easy to, I think it's interesting that people seem to be subject to Newton's laws of physics too. Not necessarily in the physical aspect of things, but in the momentum aspect of things. People, if they get going at a momentum in a trajectory, you don't want to stop. You don't want to slow down. You don't want to rest. You're like, oh, let's keep going. This is working. Let's keep going. But that's unfortunately not how the human body functions. So this is where he gets into basically the core thesis of the book. Top performers moved past time management and were focused on managing not just time, but their energy. Usually they had one thing in common: they did what they were best at when they were at their best. In other words, they worked in their area of principal gifting and passion when their energy was at its highest during the day, and as a result, they got their top priorities accomplished day in and day out. This is also reminiscent of essentialism, Greg McKeown. Basically focusing on your core work when you're at your best. Deep work, Cal Newport, also very much a thinker in this vein of thinking. I think Nieuwhof actually ties some ideas together, though, that I don't think Newport, if I'm remembering correctly, but if that Newport focused on as much. He focused more on a lot of the tactical aspects of deep work, why we should deep work, why the workplace is structured against deep work. But Nieuwhof in this book really hits on a lot of the why behind it. Hey, you want to avoid burnout? You need to work deeply, but you also need to work smartly in a deep sense. So schedule your deep work when you're at your highest energy. If you schedule your deep work when your energy is waning for the day, you're not really going to leverage that. So it's a convergence of a number of ideas in this book. Deep work, energy management, performance and productivity, essentialism, being able to put all of those together in one place, you get Nieuwhof's At Your Best and the Thrive calendar framework that he has. I really liked this highlight. If you listen to the advice designed to help people who are overwhelmed and stressed, which is dispensed by friends, advisors, and online gurus, the standard tips for beating your crazy busy life often sound like this: get an adequate amount of sleep, engage in regular physical exercise, and maintain health in your most important relationships. He says it's all really solid advice, but there are only a few problems with it. You already know all that. If that's all it took, you'd be in a state of bliss tomorrow. And even when practiced, those three therapies barely take the edge off. Even decently rested people who have friends can bench press a tiny house are stressed out. Yeah, so sleep, exercise, and relational health don't remove stress. And in a lot of ways, what I noted down here is that they're addressing the symptoms, not the cause. What he gets at here: time off won't heal you when the problem is how you spend your time on. So again, he's building into his solution here. We have a tendency to treat all waking hours as though they were the same, though they're not. This one's kind of an oucher. You get frustrated with other people interrupting you and taking up your time, but as you'll see, the reason other people don't value your time is that you don't. Or at least you haven't learned to yet. Yikes. It is really true that we often train people how to treat us, with how we treat ourselves. Also, this highlight here too. Hijack priorities happen when you allow other people to determine what you get done. This is one that I know I have been really guilty of. It's something that I have struggled with, for one. It's been something that, when you deal with being a people pleaser sometimes, which I think a lot of us really struggle with that. I don't know if you've dealt with feeling like you have to make other people happy. I know I have at times. But when you deal with that, we kind of give up control over our time for the benefit of a relationship. There are times in my mind where that is okay to do. It's really important actually to sacrifice your time for the benefit of other people in the right circumstances. But when it's a constant sacrifice, a constant giving up of what's important to you, unfortunately, that just doesn't work out very well in the long run. And this is where we get our priorities hijacked. So you've wanted to work on a project. Maybe you've wanted to go build something. Maybe you've wanted to get out and do something in the garden, but maybe somebody's nagging. Maybe somebody's nagging at you or something like that. It's, to get something else done. Could be kids, could be a coworker, could be your boss. But hijacking those priorities, it happens when you haven't defined what your priorities are already. Because when your priorities are defined, then it's a lot easier to say no. When you know what you're ready to say yes to, it makes saying no to things all the more easier. Or maybe not a full no, but not right now. Yeah, Clement's saying, I read somewhere a few questions which could free you from that. Yeah, post them in the chat if you find them. I'd love to see those. Yeah, it's true. It's very true, Clement. Kids can always do it, and it is very, very normal. I've got 3 kids, and so it's always a balancing act too, with the relational dynamic with kids. Because there are times where, something does need to get done, but your kids always, in my mind, they're one of the top priorities in my life, and so keeping that big picture is really important because we can feel the pull of a task in the moment to get something done, such as getting the dishes done. But if your kid needs something and it's important, or they want to talk about something, that always, in my mind, takes precedent, or will always make time for that, even if it's not a right now thing. So the dynamics of it are very interesting in the long run. If you just hold on just a second, I have to do something quick. And we will wrap up the stream here too in just a moment. About 5 minutes or so. I like how Nieuwhof calls out that just as stress has patterns, so does thriving. And he's calling the opposite of the pattern of stress, the stress spiral, the thrive cycle. And it's really the concept of doing what you're best at when you're at your best. I like the long-term thinking mindset here too. Live in a way today that will help you thrive tomorrow. It's there's a lot that I think about and that I read and I see, and so much of it is like, how do you invest in tomorrow? How do you invest in your tomorrow and your family's tomorrow? It's something always to think about. And then I think this is also part why this book resonated really well with me, is that this maxim, live in a way today that will help you thrive tomorrow, is not just about work or tasks, that it's encompassing all of life. Think people, think soul, think purpose. The thrive cycle will introduce or reintroduce you to the part of life that matters most, a meaningful existence. And isn't that true that that's what most of us are really after anyway, is some kind of meaningful existence? I know I am. But yeah. I think with that note, we're going to start wrapping up the stream for today. We'll continue doing some notes inside of At Your Best over the next few weeks. So feel free to subscribe if you haven't already to make sure you catch these live streams in the future. Plus for more productivity system updates too. Also, if you value what we've been doing here on the channel, if you find this to be helpful at all, do consider becoming a channel member. You can hit the join button below here on YouTube, or go into the description and click on the link to join if you're on mobile and you don't have the join button yet. Would love to have you a part of our channel membership here. It also does support and helps us to further what we're doing here at Effective. But with that, today, the last thing that I want to point you to is that if you're interested at all in the concepts of this book, At Your Best by Carey Nieuwhof, there is a link in the description. It's an affiliate link for Amazon if you want to buy it, either hard copy or Kindle or whatever. I bought the Kindle book. It's fantastic on Kindle. But if you're interested in checking this book out, do use that as well. It gives us a little kickback here at the channel too, if you are interested in doing so. But with that, I am going to sign off for the day. You all have an excellent rest of your Thursday wherever you're at in the world, and I'll catch you next week. Sound good? In the meantime, though, stay effective. Take care, everybody.